it's an honor to have somebody from our roots, from Portugal, running for the Congress. Based on that background from your family, what's your vision for the new policy on immigration, and how can that affect the U.S. society and the economy itself?
So this is deeply personal to me. My father is the son of Portuguese immigrants. His father came from Porto. His mom came from Bahia, Brazil, and my mom's great-grandfather also from the Azores. And so, when I think about their migration to the United States, looking for a better life, I think about the history of our country, how we've always been a safe haven for refugees seeking a better life, and frankly, people looking, for the freedoms and the liberties that we've always stood for. I think we need to preserve that. I think that we've gotten into a divisive discourse with this last election, and we need new leadership so that we can reestablish our hard-fought American values. And so, I've come out pretty overtly and in a very outspoken way that we need protection for our dreamers. I don't understand why we don't have just a clean up or down vote on dreamers. It has plenty of bipartisan support. Right now, it's being used as a bargaining chip, and I don't think it should be. And so, using it as one as we negotiate this idiotic campaign promise and divisive campaign promise of a wall, I think is bad for our country. We do need a mindset shift. When I think about what we need to do to make America great again, it's for us to have solidarity of purpose, and I think that starts with an open a conversation around comprehensive immigration reform. I think what some folks are confusing with the wall is a conversation around border security, and I think those are two very separate discussions. I believe that we can talk about border security, but let's not fool ourselves into believing we're going to be any safer as a nation with an $18 billion fence. So I'm excited to get to work in Washington. I'm excited to fight for not just American values, but for the American dream and for our heritage as a country.
Based on this family foundation, and I know that you appreciate that a lot, and you have strong roots on that. I would like to ask you about the education. How is your perspective for the next few years on the education programs, and how we can make the difference to rule in a different way that it's going right now
on education?
Yes.
Yeah, when Congress doesn't go to work, when Congress is in gridlock, I believe it disproportionately harms women and families because we feel it on the front lines every day, and education is a great example of that. Look, women are we're the advocates for our children in their classrooms. If they have a learning disability, we're the ones that are making sure that they get the proper attention that they need and deserve. We're the ones who are fighting for more funding so that we can have public schools that will prepare our children for the world they're going to inherit. Not only that, we need to make college education more affordable. It is outrageous right now that we are sending children to college and they are getting bogged down and saddled with enormous debt that they can't come up from underneath because we haven't done a good enough job, spurring our economy to get job creation and wages to grow at a level that we can absorb those types of loans. Third, I strongly believe that in today's economy, we need to open up all lanes of education. For our young people, it doesn't always mean college. It means vocational training, apprenticeships, community college, programs that can give our young people credentials and certification to get a good paying job with benefits faster and without the burden of debt. So I think education is directly tied to economic mobility. I think it's the biggest largest lever that we have for closing the income inequality gap in this country, and I intend to go down and fight for education so that families aren't struggling the way they are today.
And another question regarding these both issues, regarding education and immigration, is the new policy for Daca. What is your perspective or your vision in terms of controlling this new law? That's we don't know exactly what's going to be in terms of these new young people who came to the country with their parents and undocumented, and what can be done to reverse this situation about Daca, and what can be a solution for this problem?
Yeah. So look, I believe in a path to citizenship for all people who are here living in our country. I don't think I'm in a minority of people either. I think we've let, the divisive rhetoric of the last election grab too many headlines, and it's not actually where the heart of this country is. And so I don't believe anyone has a stronger claim to this country than anyone else. I'm a third generation Portuguese immigrant, and there are many people in this district. When I go around to the communities of this district, whether it's in Lowell or Lawrence or Haverhill or down in Hudson, there are many people who are working hard, contributing to our economy, paying their taxes, and we need to do right by them. It's tied to education as well. I mean, look, we have to do a better job in our public schools to having, more minority teachers, working to assimilate and include our diverse populations in school. I mean, we often say in this country that diversity is our strength. Well, diversity is only our strength if we find a way to be inclusive of our diversity, because we don't want people living in silos. We want people to have the same opportunities as everyone else, and that's how you really get a bump in this economy, is when we find a way to have a culture of inclusiveness for all the people who are here, and we have them, helping us spur and drive our economy forward.
Another issue that many people are worried. It's about healthcare, and what's going to happen to Obamacare. What's on the table for replace Obamacare, and many questions that we have regarding that. As a politician and as a person with experience from Washington. Yes. What do you think it's going to happen in terms of the healthcare and the Medicare?
Yeah. So when we passed the Affordable Care Act, it was enormously personal for me and my family. My dad was a union iron worker whose career got cut short because he was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And so when I think about if the Affordable Care Act was not the law of the land and insurance companies could still discriminate based on pre-existing condition or lifetime caps, that would have bankrupted my family. And it would bankrupt a lot of families, frankly. I mean, think of it. We don't know a family who doesn't have a member of its family with a pre-existing condition. And so it was the right thing for us to do as a country. Now, we're not done yet. I think the Affordable Care Act gives us a great framework for us to work within so that we can make health care universal and make health care affordable. But I know that there's still too many costs in our healthcare system, and we've got to attack those costs, whether it's, prescription drug benefits or holding the pharmaceutical companies accountable. We definitely have to do more to make healthcare more affordable. So I'm committed to that. I know that there is a lot of debate around other systems that we could put into place. And I'd be willing to look at all of them, whether it's a public option, whether it's single payer. There's a lot of paths to universal health care, and I think a lot of people in this country do believe that health care is a right, not a privilege. But I need to understand those proposals before I venture into dismantling or repealing what we have, because what we have can be improved upon and it can be strengthened. I do believe that. And I would rather us figure out ways to do that rather than start from scratch. Let's face it, we've been defending Affordable Care Act since it was passed, and so I'm reluctant to start over when I see how hard the journey has been for us so far. But I'm completely committed to making our health care more affordable, because I know it's not perfect yet.
Looking back for your professional background and the company you set up with your friends and all this trend about women rights and equality and empowering women.
We are living in an incredible moment right now. I mean, I often think about where we are today as women and what the future will hold for my two daughters. And nothing gives me more optimism than the movement we're seeing right now. On the one hand, you wake up as a woman and you feel a bit assaulted by this administration. Some of our hard-fought rights are under attack, whether it's access to contraception or our reproductive rights, paid equal pay for equal work or paid leave. I mean, those are all feeling threatened at the moment. But the reaction that it's caused across this country is something I've never seen in my lifetime. You're seeing record numbers of women running for office at all levels, local levels, state, congressional. Just in this race alone, there are 5 women running. I mean, we've never seen that, and I think that's a great thing. I think getting women off the sidelines, getting them to participate, be it as voters, as activists, as campaign managers, as people who are running themselves, that is going to cause real and lasting change in this country, which I desperately believe we need. There's only 19% women in the U.S. House of Representatives, and we comprise 51% of the population. So I've long wanted to see a shift in that balance. Just, in my last job as a business consultant, one of the things that we worked really hard to do is to get more women in leadership positions, because, there are, despite all the headlines and the outrage for many, many, many years, and, today, there is... women are grossly underrepresented in boardrooms across this country and in the halls of Congress. And I think we're starting to see that shift. And so it gives me incredible momentum to be part of that. I was at a women's march in the district in Ayer. I was there with my girls, and there were hundreds of women there. And they felt empowered, and they knew they could do something. And they weren't just doing it on Saturday. They were making a commitment to do it right through to the election and right into the future. And I think that's what we need. So I'm actually incredibly optimistic. I think that the way to get to real and lasting change is having more women at the table, having more women in Congress. And I'm excited. I'm excited to be part of that movement.
What do you think the message that you can pass to the residents of these districts? What do you think they can expect from you as a representative in Washington? Give us your idea about this region in Massachusetts.
So what I learned from working in a congressional office for almost 10 years is that there's enormous power in a congressional office and what they can do for a regional economy. And whether it's working with state and local government to fund infrastructure projects and create jobs, and you don't have to drive too far around Lowell to realize that our bridges are in disrepair, to attracting businesses to take advantage of our skilled workforce. I think that the role of a congressperson's office is to convene public and private partnerships, state and local government, so that you can have, so you can spur the economy of of this district, there's 6 working-class cities in this district. There's Haverhill, Lawrence, Methuen, Fitchburg, Marlborough, and Lowell. And you can really work on revitalizing those cities if you're committed to working with the state and local governments there. And so I intend to do that. I've seen firsthand how impactful it can be. I also realize that, this district has benefited greatly from Congressman Marty Meehan and Congresswoman Tsongas sitting on the Armed Services Committee. I believe in 2015, there was $12 billion delivered to this state, both for, defense spending and defense program, but also dual-use programs. And I think those are important jobs, those are important projects, and important for us to expand that in the state of Massachusetts. Lastly, I have working class roots. My mom was a domestic worker. My dad was a union iron worker. And when I think about the issues that, matter in people's lives, and where Congress has just gotten stuck, it's on helping those families like the one I grew up in. So I want to work on issues that are actually going to matter to people. There's a lot of anxiety playing out at the kitchen tables of my friends and my family and my community, whether it's, they don't see economic security or a job that they're going to have into the future. Public schools that will prepare our children for the future, affordable college education and health care that covers us all. I mean, those are issues that we need to confront, and we need to make better for hardworking families in this district. I intend to do that.
Now, regarding your campaign and so many candidates from the Democrat Party for these primaries, what makes the 3rd District so desired for all of these candidates running? Yeah.
Look, there's no shortage of talent in this field. It's a very diverse district. It can be a conservative district. In fact, it's one of those districts where it's one of the few districts in this state that could go red if we don't elect a strong Democratic nominee. But I come from a great part of this district. Greater Lowell is where I've grown up and raised my family. I went to Lowell Public Schools. I went to Lowell High School. After I graduated, I coached the Lowell volleyball team. I'm in the High School Hall of Fame for volleyball. So I have deep roots in this community. I think it's important. I think it's important to live in your community, in the community that you're going to represent. There are some people in this race, in this field, who are running, because it's a political opportunity. They're moving into this district to run, and that's not why I'm doing this. I care deeply about my community because I've lived here my whole life. I mean, it's a calling for me to help the people who I grew up with, and frankly, the people who my children are growing up with. And so everyone's going to bring their lived experience to this race. And I'm hoping that mine resonates, given that I've got deep roots in this district. I've worked in a congressional office before, and I believe I'm going to hit the ground running. And I've got a successful business that I started myself and I built by myself, and understand the levers of the economy. Worked in the innovation economy for years. So I'm hoping when you take the collection of experience I have and you put it up against everyone else's, that I've established myself as experienced and an effective member.